What's happening? Let's talk about transgenderism today. According to the International Classification of Disease and also the Statistical Manual of Mental Disorder, transgenderism or transsexualism is a word for people who experience discomfort or distress caused by the discrepancy between their gender identity and the sex that they were assigned to at birth. It's not really seen as a disease anymore, but more as a diagnostic term. So in the new ICD and the new DSM-5, they want transgenderism to have a new name and will also include people who don't really fit into the gender binary at all. It's very hard to figure out how many transgender people are actually living in the world. There isn't really a very good way to test it or to measure it, and because of a lot of social reasons, people don't always say that they're transgender. So transgenderism is a sense of belonging to the opposite sex or feeling like you've been born in the wrong body, and seeing that as an error that was made when you were born. It could be like a sense of estrangement from your own body. It's like everything that you are and everything that you look like is just something really repugnant and unattractive and just unappealing to you. Another characteristic is that they have a very strong desire to resemble those of the opposite sex via either therapy and maybe even surgery. And what's maybe most important is that they have a desire to be accepted in a community as the gender identity that they identify with. Some people only call someone transgender when they've undergone an operation or if they have the wish to do so. Well, I personally think it's more about how you identify as a person, not if you live up to society's expectations of what gender is supposed to be or look like. One reason why it's so hard to figure out how many transgender people are in the world is because if you go to San Francisco and you ask, a lot of people who are transgender will say yes, whereas, when you're in Tehran in the Middle East and someone will ask you, do you identify as a different gender? They're probably not going to say yes that quickly, even though they feel that way. And how permanent this has to be, because some people actually experience something like a gender fluid kind of identity, when some days they feel like a man and some days they feel like a woman, or maybe even something in between. So when exactly do you say that they're trans? Well, I'm proud to say that in the Netherlands there are a lot of trans services available, and even though not everyone thinks it's the commonest thing in the world, it's still, being tolerated very well, and people are pretty cool about it up until now. Funnily enough, before I start getting very snobby about how our Western civilization is so great and all that, there's one prevalent study from the Eastern world which states that countries like Thailand, India, and Pakistan are known to have an apparently very tolerant culture towards trans identities. And during the years, a lot more people have started identifying themselves as transgender. This is probably because there is a continuous destigmatization going on due to media coverage, and there's more information on the internet. A lot of books and films have come out. One of my favorite series with a transgender character in it is Sense8, because Nomi is a transgender person and it's part of her identity, but it's never part of her plot. Apparently, the most trans-friendly countries are Denmark, Luxembourg, Ireland, Sweden, and the United Kingdom. Of the people answering the questionnaires in this article, the majority of Denmark, Sweden, Luxembourg, Spain, the UK, and the Netherlands were even comfortable with having a transgender person as their government leader. What I personally like is that not every trans person has undergone a hormone replacement treatment or a surgical intervention. Many of them basically socially transitioned, either with partial treatment or no medical treatment whatsoever. Because gender is not about looking the part. It shouldn't be like passing or non-passing. So I was watching Doctor Who today, and there was a character in it of which I thought that they were a man. Later on, I found out that it was a female part that was played by a transgender actress. And that's what I personally really like too, because Bethany Black doesn't have to pass as a woman to be a woman. I mean, even if at first glance I thought, oh, that's a dude, it shouldn't matter. She doesn't have to pass some weird kind of test for me to acknowledge that she is a woman. She just is. Anyway, like and comment if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe for more of these.